Hey guys, it's Kim. I'm back with 5 more tarot exercises for the Major Arcana, and if you haven't checked out my first video, which is 5 exercises for the Major Arcana, the links are down below, make sure you check it out. So this is part 2 of that video, and then I'm gonna give you 5 more awesome tarot exercises. And I'm also putting out 2 more tarot worksheets. I was going to launch one of them with the previous video, but the video kind of expanded, and then most of the stuff I was going to put in, kind of like introduced through the worksheets, are kind of from this video, so I decided to launch that worksheet with this video. But yeah, anyway, let's get started, like, right now. Okay, so the first one, or I guess the 6th one if you count the 5 previous ones in the other video, but for the sake of this video, it's just the first one. So, exercise number 1, or 5 plus 1. Anyway, exercise number 1 is you would associate each archetype with a keyword. So, very simple. Probably done that before, probably already did that before, probably not the newest thing out there, but yeah, you would take the keyword from each archetype, and you would just journal about it, and you would try to define this keyword for yourself. For example, if you take the card Emperor, you would maybe assign the keyword authority to the Emperor, and basically you will be asking yourself, how do you define authority? What does authority mean to you? How does authority look like in your life? What does it mean to have personal authority? What does it mean to have authority over you? Or how do the people in your life, or the people that you know, sort of display traits of authority? Or how do they, what types of people seem authoritative? And you can also kind of explore the negative and positive aspects of this, like what's positive authority, what's negative authority. Yeah, so this is kind of going to the realm of the, the shadow side of the archetype, which I will talk about later. But yeah, basically you would just take a keyword, and even if you have more than one keyword, say you have several words sort of grouped under one archetype, that's fine too. You can just explore all of them, or just pick one of them to explore. But basically just try to define the keywords. And I'm going to give you like a little formula that I teach. It's like a little writing formula that can help you develop your ideas. I teach this when I, teach English essays and everything. But yeah, basically this formula is called SEE, which means statement, evidence, explanation. And for statement, basically it's the point you're trying to make. So you can say something like, authority means to, or personal authority means to be able to assert your personal boundaries. So that would be a statement. And then evidence would be, you would give an example to kind of prove this statement. So this could be like an example from your own life, like in your memory or an experience that you've had with personal authority, or it could be from a movie, or, how other people handled a certain situation with personal authority and that kind of thing. So for an example would be, or a general example would be, for example, the power, or knowing how to say no, and also knowing when to say no. Personally, sometimes I struggle with this. Sometimes people would be asking me for favors, and then sometimes it's really hard for me to say no, because I want to make time for my friends, I want to make time for my family, and sometimes that gets pretty tough, and I kind of just let my personal care and the things that I want to do, I just let them slide. So an example of personal authority would be being able to say, no, I need to work on this right now, but maybe later if I have time, I might help you with this. So that would be an example, and then after you give the evidence, you would provide an explanation. So basically you would just sort of elaborate more on how this piece of evidence that you gave, how does it prove your statement even more. So I would kind of just try to, refer this back to my statement. I would say something like, okay, because recognizing my own needs, and also maybe managing my own needs, also trying to, listen to other people's needs, and this is a way of showing personal authority, because I'm taking care of myself first, but I'm also making time for others. So this kind of explains how how I define authority, how I relate it to my personal life, and that kind of thing. So yeah, so give this a try if you want to just, try to develop your ideas. So it's statement, evidence, and explanation. And if you're just curious about this little formula, just type it on Google. I'm pretty sure you'll find something, on the academic writing website. So it's pretty cool way to kind of it's a good thing to use when you're doing like a thought exercise. But yeah, moving on. Number 2, this is seriously my favorite exercise out of all of the exercises that I come up with. Basically, personify an archetype into a teacher, mentor, life coach, or whatever figure, but basically a teacher. And you imagine each archetype, you would try to explore what's the teaching style of this archetype, how would they teach, what's their methodology, like what are their favorite things to do when they want to approach their students or inspire their students. So for example, this is in the worksheets I made too. For example, the tower. So for the tower, I put the tower as a teacher likes the truth bomb, is very intense and dramatic, likes to put you in challenges, all of a sudden, sometimes without your permission, just to shake you out of your comfort zone and try to push you to your limits so you can excel those limits. And the tower is in love with rude awakenings, because that's what the tower does. And also the tower is doesn't really take no for an answer. Like if the tower wants something done for you, then it's gonna get done. So that's sort of the personality of the tower as a teacher. And you can just do some creative imaginings with the other archetypes. So how would the emperor teach? How would the empress teach? If you work with the fool as a life coach, like what would the fool be doing to you, right? Are they compassionate? Are they more like a friend? Or are they more like a really didactic, strict teacher figure? Stuff like that. So you can just explore how each archetype would teach you in life situations, or just if you work with this archetype as a teacher figure. Alright, so number 3. Pretend that this archetype is a counselor or just someone giving you advice, and kind of just imagine what they would say to you. So what you can do is you could create different categories for your life. For example, finance, career, relationships, create these big categories. Or you could just create specific situations like a breakup, going through a breakup, or going into a job interview, or like different situations where you might need to get advice from. And basically you would pick one situation. I think it's better if you stick with one situation and go through all the archetypes first, because you can kind of compare and contrast, and then you would do like another situation. But yeah, basically you would pick a situation, or like a kind of like a general life area, and then you would just consult each archetype and just step into their shoes and kind of become their character, like embody their character and teaching style maybe, and then just kind of imagine what they would actually verbally say to you. For example, if say you're having some relationship issues, and then you want some advice on, maybe because you're having a disagreement with a friend and you just can't agree to disagree, and you're just like fighting every day and drama, blah blah blah. So you would ask the fool, we would consult the fool, and then the fool might say, you just need to keep a fresh perspective. You might be discovering your friend in a whole new way. You just have to go with it, blah blah blah. Or you could pretend that you're asking Empress for advice, and the Empress might say, oh, your friend might be going through a hard time. You might need to be more compassionate, more loving, stuff like that. So you can kind of compare and contrast what each archetype would say to certain situations. And this is also a good way if you want to sort of create just like a general collection of advice from the archetype. I think it's good for yourself, and it might also be good for if you have like a heart-centered tarot business. It's good for it if you want to compile like all the advice that you can give to your clients and that kind of stuff. So I thought that would be pretty cool. Alright, so number 4, this is kind of an extension of number 3. Basically, you would take the different categories that you came up with in number 3, and you would sort of do some personal reflections with it. You would try to assemble your own team or your own council when situations come up, or when shit hits the fan, or when you're having a hard time or having challenges in life. So for example, if you take a look at the category of relationships, when challenges come up in relationships, or when you really need advice or help, which archetype would you personally go to? Like, whose advice would you favor more? And also think about, like, who would you not go to get advice, and then kind of just answer those questions and think about why. Like, why you would prefer certain archetype over the other, or why would you sort of distance yourself from one archetype over another. So for me personally, I think when it comes to relationships, I would definitely go to the Emperor, because I always have trouble with personal boundaries and being assertive, and speaking my mind, saying what I want to say, and also just recognizing my own needs and what I need to accomplish. So I think the Emperor is definitely a good archetype to go to when it comes to relationships. Someone I probably would not go to is the Devil. And don't get me wrong, I love the Devil archetype, but for me, I think if I go to the Devil during a relationship crisis, I'm just gonna become overly paralyzed, just trying to self-reflect and trying to look at my own shadow, I will probably be just overly critical, and I'll just overanalyze everything. I would start blaming myself. I would, I think for me, it's not a good time for me to go to the Devil in a relationship crisis, just because I'm just gonna get deeper and deeper into that sinkhole. So yeah, I think when it comes to relationships, for me, it's more about like taking action. So I'll go to the Emperor to be helped. So yeah, after you do this exercise, I think this comes from like knowing yourself. Like for me, I know myself as someone who needs to be more assertive in certain situations, so I would go to the Emperor. And if you don't, if you don't know that already, it's like, so this exercise could be a good exercise to get into when you just want to sort of look at your own strengths and weaknesses in certain relationships, or not in certain relationships, and like general life dynamics. So yeah, it's a good exercise to also like do some self-exploring and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so to sum up, you would take a look at archetypes, you would work out who would you rather go to in certain situations, and who would you go to seek advice from, and why. Okay, the last one, which is also a fun one. This one is called Go to the Dark Side, because the dark side has cookies. No. Basically, this is an exercise for you to explore the shadow side of the archetype. And I feel like for me, the shadow of an archetype means, so each archetype has a kind of like an ideal state. So that's the balanced archetype, right? When you have a balanced emperor, when you have a balanced hangman, you can sort of learn your lessons from it, and then engage with it, interact with it, and then kind of move on. So that's when the archetype is balanced. But when it goes out of balance, so either when the archetype goes into an overflow or when it goes into lack, that's when we have the shadow side of the archetype. So just because I don't really know how graphically able that I'm able to put this chart on screen, I'm just gonna quickly show you my cue card. Oops, it's gonna see through, but yeah, that's what it looks like. So you have a balanced archetype, and you have an overflow and lack. And I created a worksheet for this too, so if you want to check it out, it's down in the description box. But yeah, basically you would try to define a balanced archetype first. So for example, I took the star. Star as a balanced archetype for me, it means knowing when to take time for yourself, knowing when to really do some self-care, knowing when to take some time off, and kind of just like think positively about the future, but at the same time trying to stay grounded and trying to heal and trying to take time for yourself. So that's when the star card is really balanced for me. And when it overflows, I think when the star card overflows, I think there's this sort of when it overflows, you're not really actively engaged in your problems, you're not really trying to solve your problems, you're just in this cocoon of like self deception, you're staying in your own comfort zone too much, you just want the problems to go away while you're sort of taking care of yourself, but you're not really actively trying to engage the problems externally, and you're kind of just too naive about everything. So kind of just need to snap yourself out of it. Or when it goes into lack, I think it's when you become very pessimistic about things. You don't really believe that things will work out. You send yourself into overdrive. You don't take time to take care of yourself or listen to your own needs. You don't take the time to listen to yourself, basically. And you might be placing the needs of others above your own. You might be doing too much work. And again, you might be just too pessimistic to think that you may not believe the importance, or you don't feel like, you don't believe that taking care of yourself is any good. So you just keep working and you keep sending yourself into overdrive. You just keep maybe like getting torn in different directions. You just don't take time to pause, to reflect on your life and to kind of recover. So that's when the star goes into the lack side, when it's unbalanced in that way. So yeah, I don't think I explained this exercise. Well, basically, is this exercise, first you would try to define an archetype and define its balanced state. So in its ideal state, when everything is perfect, everything is just the right amount, what does this archetype look like? And when this archetype goes into overflow, what does that look like? When this archetype goes into lack, what does that look like? So the lack and the overflow, they're the shadow side, or the shadow aspects of this archetype. At least that's how I kind of approach it. And yeah, that's the 5th exercise. And I think that's it. This is not the end of the tarot exercises that I'm going to be putting out. I just have so many ideas. I'm going to put a lot of things out down the road. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know which one is your favorite exercise, or if you've tried any of them. And if you want more, make sure to check out the first part of this video, and there's like 5 more exercises. And if you want more exercises in general, or more detailed explanations of them, check out my blog, and there's lots of good stuff there. There's worksheets, and speaking of worksheets, 2 new ones coming with this video down in the description box. They're free to download. You can just check them out and print them, and it's all awesome and everything. But yeah, other than that, I guess until next time,